Shields up, Ironbreakers. Today, I'm here with all of you to talk about my games of the decade. And as we go down this list, it is important to mention that I have a very bad memory. And even though I've been thinking about this for like the past month, and I've looked up all of my videos up until like 6 years ago, I've also been extremely sleep deprived. You know, it's just my usual state of being, as we all know. But what I'm saying is that there might be a couple of things that I'm forgetting because we are trying to look at a full decade. And it's actually the first time I'm trying to do a list like this, which includes the entirety of the decade. Now, it is also important to mention that these lists, as with any list that I end up making, this is my personal list. So don't be surprised if there's like a game in there that you really thought like, oh my God, this game definitely deserves it. It doesn't mean anything. These lists are kind of meaningless. It's more of a window into the soul of the people creating the list than anything else, really. Don't try to make it like, oh, this person said this game is the best or something along those lines, because that is something that's quite simply never going to work out right. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do a top 10 of the decade as opposed to one of 2019 is because as a content creator, a lot of the times you don't get to play the stuff that you want as much as you want because you need to be playing games that allow you to do the content that you are doing on your channels and on your, you know, and the stuff that you are streaming and all of that. So I don't always get to play things that I would have liked to have played. And 2019 is definitely a year where I felt that because like I never got to finish Fire Emblem Three Houses because quite simply most of my audience does not care to watch me play Fire Emblem Three Houses. I did not get to finish Code Vein because the YouTube algorithm thought that there were too many Bobs in that game. So they were just like, no, we can't, no. Because I remember looking up through YouTube search results that like Code Vein was quite simply, like it seemed like, you know, big creators like with huge audiences and the views would just not correlate to what is expected from those audiences. So I'm pretty sure that YouTube stealth nerfed Code Vein. And you know, there's other titles that I didn't get to finish, maybe some stuff that is a little less known, like Daemon Ex Machina, didn't get to finish Children of Morta, and there's a bunch of other things that, so basically doing a 2019 list was going to be really hard, but a list of the decade I found significantly easier. Now, having said that, even though most likely on the title of this I'll put like top 10 videos with 10 games or whatever, it's actually 11, okay? Deal with it. It's 11. Okay? And it's 11 because when I started trimming down the list, I got to a point where like, okay, I've taken so much stuff out, so many games that I loved, I had to take out of this list because, you know, you have, but when I got to the 11, I was like, I can't take a single game out. I can't trim this list anymore. It cannot be done. It is impossible. If I take a single game out of this list, I'm not representing what the last 10 years have been for me in gaming. So it is 11. The list is 11. And we're going to start by number 11. These are ordered. We're going to start on number 11, then we're going to finish on number 1. Most of you will know what number 1 is. Probably most of you will also know what number 2 is. But let's get started anyways, because I think it'll be a good time. So I'm going to play a little bit of the trailer. And then I'm going to reduce the volume of the trailer and I will talk about why this particular game is important for me. So, let's get started. I'm going to actually pause Poké Village here. We'll put Poké Village back on after all the trailers and all that stuff, okay? Get to it. Who hasn't guessed this one by now?
You are truly as he anticipated. This is truly an unjust game. But if my voice is reaching you, I beg you, please overcome this game and save the world.
I love this music. I friggin' love this music. Incoming content ID claims on YouTube. Don't give a fuck. Let's go.
You seem to be enjoying every second.
You transferred to Shujin Academy, correct?
It's so good. It's so good. Now, it is important for me to mention that when I put Persona on this list, I put Persona 5, and I'm showing guys the trailer to Persona 5, but I don't consider this to be just Persona 5. To me, for the top 10 titles of the decade, I would include 2 titles in here. So I'm going to cheat, whatever. You guys can say that it's a cheat, but I would also include Persona 4 Golden here. Persona 4 Golden is the one that I actually finished. I never got to finish Persona 5 for the reasons that I mentioned at the start of this video because, you know, I wasn't able to just create content on it. It wasn't getting viewed. People were not watching it. It was tanking the channel, all that usual stuff. I did play over 50 hours of it, and I greatly enjoyed it. But Persona 4 Golden, I did finish it, and I would almost say that Golden had a bigger impact in me. I think I actually like Golden more than 5. It's just 5 is the one that is still in everyone's memory, so it'll be easier for people to recognize what game I'm talking about and all that. But that's not the takeaway from 5. I think 5 is freaking fantastic. I was loving 5 up until I kind of had to stop to focus on other content. But yeah, Persona definitely shaped up the last 10 years for me in a lot of ways. And Persona 4 Golden, if I'm not mistaken, is probably the first JRPG I ever finished. It was actually very interesting because I didn't request for Persona 4 Golden. I had no plans of playing Persona 4 Golden, but the people in charge of publishing for Atlas in Europe at the time, it was NIS America. These are the same people behind games like this Gaia, right? And so they were the ones in charge, and they, you know, I've been working with them, and I had met them at Gamescom and stuff, and they just kind of, they sent me a code for Persona 4 Golden. I think it was like 1 or 2 days before it came out. And I was just like, what's this? And they were just like, oh, dude, just play it. I'm sure you're going to love it. And I was just like, all right. So I played it a little bit, and I was just like hooked. And then I think it was during Christmas break that year that I finished Persona 4, and I friggin' loved it. But yeah, Persona 5, friggin' fantastic, friggin' great title. Let's go on to number 10. Wait, I don't...
The commanders put me in charge of your maintenance, ma'am. That means I'll be performing regular checks on you from now on.
If anyone is listening to this, there's something I need you to do. If you ever meet up with Yorha Unit 9S,
This game
I want him.
is friggin' amazing. And I know that it's pretty low on my list. And to be honest, I don't... It's like when you're talking about the top 10 games of the decade, this is a list that, like, all of the games are very close, you know? It's not like, oh yeah, this is the last one. It's the one I like the least. That's not it. These are... All of the games on this list, I friggin' love all of them. Okay? And even though there are some that I like a little bit more than others, you shouldn't take, you know, a list of the last 10 years as something like, oh, this is on number 10, so it's clearly the worst. No, this game is fucking phenomenal. And as a matter of fact, I would go as far as to say that some of the stuff that this game does is quite unique because it is something that can only be represented in video game form. It is a story that you cannot experience as something that is told, like something like there's a lot of games that have a story that you could watch like a movie. You can't do that for Nier Automata, at least in my opinion. You have to actually experience to really get invested in this story, to really understand why this game is that special. This game is friggin' phenomenal. And it's like, I just feel like anyone that is a gamer, you should at some point in your life play this game, try it out for yourself, and just see what it's all about. Like, legitimately, just try it out for yourself at some point. Like, pick it up in a sale or something and just play it. Because it is very much worth, even if you're not into action games, like bump down the difficulty. There's even like modes where you can have auto heal so that you can just like experience the gameplay of it and experience the story the way that it is being told, even if you don't want to deal with the challenging gameplay or anything of that nature. Even though I think that on normal, which is what I played, it's very much an easy game to finish. I didn't play it on hard, by the way, because like, dude, Platinum Games, those guys are crazy. They come up with some crazy shit when it comes to some of their encounters, and I'm an old man, dude. I ain't got the reflexes for this shit anymore. But yeah, I would highly advise everyone check out Nier Automata if you haven't yet. So yeah, Nier Automata comes in at number 10. Let's check out the next one. Probably a lot of people didn't expect this one. I loved my time with this game. I cannot express how much I loved my time with this game. I never expected it. To me, this was completely fucking out of left field. Never saw it coming. But I fucking love this game. And I'll tell you what, as a content creator, you know, I'm constantly thinking about, okay, I got to do something in Monster Hunter World to, you know, make a video, stuff like that, because, you know, I love Monster Hunter World and all that stuff. But in the back of my mind, I'm just always thinking, man, I got to get back into Elite Dangerous, dude. The game is so good. The game is so friggin' good. I played tons of hours into this game. And the interesting thing is, those of you that don't know that I've played this game, when I first got this game, the reason I got it was because it was released on PS4. It was during the PS4 release window, because I had been talking to friends and we're thinking, oh man, maybe we'll get into that game, that Elite Dangerous crazy game. You know, it looks like it's a pretty crazy thing and maybe we should check it out. And I was like, sure. So I contacted Frontier Developments around the time that this game released, and I requested a code. For starters, I was super surprised because, you know, usually when you contact a publisher and stuff, it's not super easy to get code. Sometimes you got to give them a little bit of a song and dance and whatnot. You got to go through a couple of emails trying to explain what you do. In this case, I sent them an email and like, I'm talking about 2 hours later, I had a code. And I was like, the fuck? That's not normal. So they sent me the code. I start playing the game, and here's the interesting bit. I start playing this game. I'm just going through the tutorial. I spent like 3 hours in the tutorial, which, by the way, the tutorial has been greatly improved this year, I've been told. But I spent like 3 hours in the tutorial. I hate myself. I'm just like, dude, I can't play this fucking game. I hate this fucking game. I can't control my ship. I can't read this goddamn radar. I hate everything about this game. And now I have to do a video on it. I hate it. I was so upset. I was so upset because I really thought I was going to like it. And I hate everything about this game. Everything. And then I was just like, well, screw all this. I've been playing the tutorial. I quit the tutorial. I can't fly this ship. I give up, whatever. I'm just going to play the actual game and see what it feels like. And when I started playing the game, I was like, you know, this is actually pretty fun. It was weird. I don't know. The tutorials just like really put me off, and they were super challenging. Like for someone that had no idea how to fly a ship using a DualShock 4, the tutorials were incredibly challenging. Like whatever, right? But after I started playing the actual game, things got a lot easier, and I really, really enjoyed my time with it. The biggest downside to this game, in my opinion, is that Frontier Developments insists on making players do the most interesting things in the game by using the little space buggy. And I'm just like, dude, like, give us interesting stuff to do on our ships, not on the goddamn space buggy. I get it. You guys want us to see the planets and all that, but give us stuff to do on the ships. I don't want to be on my buggy all the time. It's not fun. So, yeah, this is friggin' fantastic. Oh, and by the way, Puffin B in chat right now, he was the one who donated so that I could get a HOTAS, so that I could actually play this game with a HOTAS, and it really became even more immersive. But anyway, I'm sure that a lot of you guys are kind of tired of listening about Elite Dangerous. Let's move on to, I believe it's number 8 next.
Open your eyes.
Is it number 8 or number 7? I don't know. I don't know what number we're on in the list. Let me count them.
If only I could be so grossly incandescent.
It's number 8. Hector of Troy, thank you very much for being grossly incandescent for 20 months. Tip of the hat to you, sir. Appreciate the support. But yeah, this one was a no-brainer to put on the list. This one just had to be there. And I'm not like this mega Zelda fan or anything like that. I just felt that this game really... It's just the sense of adventure that you get from this game, you know? Because usually when you have open world games, most games tend to follow the Ubisoft formula. Which is like, oh, here's the map, here's like a million markers, and now go do your thing. In this game, it was different. When you climbed up into the towers, you actually looked into the distance, and you saw, like, stuff that would seem interesting, and you would go in that general direction, and you would have a couple of adventures along the way, and everything was just so organic and felt well done and polished that I was just like completely in love with this game. I actually did a full, because here's the thing. This is one of those games that I knew was going to hurt my channel on YouTube, and I still published the entirety of a playthrough of this game on YouTube, knowing that it was still going to hurt my channel. That's how much I like it. Like, I took the hit on the algorithm, knowing that I was going to get screwed over, but I liked playing the game so much that I just kept on going. I never did finish the DLC, though. I have the DLC. I need to get into that, but, you know, it's one of those things. At this point, there's so many projects that I want to work on that it became kind of hard to go back to it, but this is an amazing title. And basically, if you own a Switch, this is pretty much a no-brainer. Just, like, buy this game. Like, buy it full price, buy it on a sale, buy it however the hell you want. But, like, if you own a Switch, or even if you own a Wii U and you don't plan on getting a Switch, buy this game. Play this game. This is hands down one of the best games we have seen this decade. And in a lot of people's lists, this game is going to be much higher than on mine. The reason it's not as high on mine is because of the story. Which is, I don't find Breath of the Wild's story to be, you know, particularly innovative. There was another game that came out on that same year, which was Horizon Zero Dawn, which in my opinion had a much better story. But it also had a much more linear open world experience, like the whole Ubisoft thing that I was talking about earlier. That's kind of what Horizon Zero Dawn's world felt like in a way, where you just like, oh, here's all these icons on the map and you can go do all of these activities. And just the feeling of exploration that you got from The Legend of Zelda was amazing. And this is a game that is very, very easy to recommend to literally anyone. Fantastic friggin' title. Let's move on to number 7.
Open your eyes.
Wait, what? No. Next one.
Hey, Mom?
Wait a minute. Let me just check that this is, because, okay, it is right. It's like I had a bit of a glitch there, but yeah, it is correct. Well, this one just...
I became a driver. And this girl is Pyra, my new partner. We're going to Elysium.
The fate of an Aegis never changes. And you're going to get Rex mixed up in this? No matter how hard you tried, that boy will find some way to get involved.
Oh, yum, yummy.
Don't hold back!
Xenoblade Chronicles, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cheat in this one too, very much like I cheated with Persona. And this does not just include Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I would include in this position the original Xenoblade Chronicles, which unfortunately is one of the games that I never finished. Xenoblade Chronicles X, which I did finish, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I didn't like Torna nearly as much as I liked Xenoblade Chronicles 2. But, you know, that still didn't diminish how much I enjoyed this game. This is a fantastic JRPG. The story of this game got me pretty much in tears within the first, I think it's like within the first 2 hours. Like, that's when you get the first grandpa scene. And it was friggin' amazing. I loved it. And I love the story of this game, and I love the gameplay of this game. And I can't wait for the remake of Xenoblade Chronicles 1 so that I can actually play that game, because I only got to play Xenoblade Chronicles, the original one, in 3DS. And in my opinion, it's really not the best way to experience that game, which is why I'm super excited to play Xenoblade Chronicles on the Switch. So I can't wait for that, and I'm probably going to even be streaming all of that, or at least I'll try to stream it. If I don't stream it, I'm definitely going to play it. Because, yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles is friggin' amazing. We were with you, Rui. We all cried. You're goddamn right you did. You all cried. It's friggin' amazing. Not only that, but the music, dude. I feel like Xenoblade Chronicles always gets snuffed on the music because people just... Mainstream media just does not play this game. They don't play the Xenoblade Chronicles games. I mean, just look at this music. Okay, so the voice acting is not the best. I get it. But the music, though.
You will never take her.
Not to mention, you can play it with Japanese voices. So, you know, if you don't like the dubs, you can play it with Japanese voices, and it is a million times better, okay? I get it. Not everybody's into the whole the English, the British accents, the Irish accents, all of that stuff, but fantastic freaking title. Again, and not just this one. This one, Xenoblade Chronicles X and the original Xenoblade Chronicles games that definitely are amazing. Even Xenoblade Chronicles 1 also kind of, I think it took me to tears even faster, in like 30 minutes. 30 minutes. It's just amazing story and amazing gameplay. I love it. I love Xenoblade Chronicles. Anyway, let's check out the next one.
Yum, yummy. Don't hold back.
Number 6.
Have you ever paused to wonder how many times we lived out these lives before? Eternal recursion. The world's come and gone and been made new again.
I shall save this impure world.
Time for fight.
Why won't it show itself?
I am lucky you're my partner. Now, let us be off.
Your life will be passed on to me. That is my duty as your partner.
Yes, chat, this is another game I didn't finish. I am in the final boss of this game. The reason I didn't finish this game is because, like, look, you guys need to understand, live streaming and recording PlayStation Vita is a goddamn nightmare. It is a goddamn nightmare. And I just don't feel like dealing with it anymore. It's such a nightmare that I don't even feel like hooking up my Vita or my Vita TV. It's just that you got to put a splitter that removes the HDCP and it does this and does that, or I have to use the stupid software from the capture Vita unit, which is terrible. And it's like, I don't want to deal with that. But this game most likely has my favorite story of any game I've ever played. Easily. The stories told in this game are friggin' amazing. The way the game kind of mind fucks you as you are playing it is amazing. The mechanics of the game and how they kind of play a part in telling the story itself are amazing. The gameplay is cool. This is inspired by Monster Hunter, by the way. This plays a lot like Monster Hunter, except instead of weapons, you have spells. But it's just such a fantastic game. Like, really, really, really good game. And they need to make a remake of this. Like, Sony needs to make a remake of this, or somebody needs to buy this friggin' IP off of Sony. Like, don't let Soul Sacrifice die. Because this game is just so friggin' good. And there's so many people that have no idea what this game is. They have literally no idea what Soul Sacrifice is all about. And if you're curious, there's like a full playthrough all the way up until the last boss, at least, because I never finished the last boss. But there's like a full playthrough all the way up until the last boss on my channel if you guys are curious. It's so much worth it. So much worth it. Don't sacrifice Soul Sacrifice. Yeah. Amazing title. But yeah, I love Soul Sacrifice, and it definitely one of my best games of this decade.
We have need of a...
Oh, and another thing, the soundtrack of this game, the one that they use in the trailer is not like super, but the soundtrack of this game is also really, really good.
Really all the same?
If we had met under...
Number 5? Yeah. Everybody knows this one.
Your hunger may beget a fine shinobi.
Miyazaki's gonna be prominently featured in my top 5 of the decade. I friggin' loved Sekiro. I've been thinking about where I would rate it on all of my Souls titles, and it's number 5 in my games of the decade. But it's just a really good game. Just being number 5 in my top 10, again, you have to understand this list is so close together. I loved my time with this, and I know that. But oh yeah, and also I almost forgot, Sekiro won Game of the Year this year, which I was super happy. Like, I would never have imagined that Sekiro would win Game of the Year. Miyazaki actually seeing his work like pay off for the first time, I was super impressed with it, and I was super happy. Like, I was mega happy when people told me. I was streaming Monster Hunter at the time, and I believe it was either Cosmos or Arclight. One of you guys told me, Rurikhan Sekiro won Game of the Year, and I was like, fuck yeah. It's a really good story. It's really good action, and I understand that a lot of Souls players, they didn't get one of the things that they wanted out of this game, which was build diversity. I kind of look at it in the way that you get build diversity as in the way in which you start playing the game. Because, you know, once you get deep enough into the game, you can just buy all skills. And I think this is the only game that Miyazaki has done where you can kind of do that. I mean, you can also raise up your stats to 99 and all of the other ones. It just takes too long to be feasible. But that's because this was Miyazaki's take on action-adventure, and I think he did a fantastic job. I really liked the game. I really liked the experience. It was a great challenge, and it had me in rage a lot of times because some of the enemies in this game are really, really tough. And there was also that whole discussion where you could definitely see that a lot of games journalists, not all of them, mind you, not all of them, but a lot of games journalists nowadays, they just don't play games. And then when they get a game like this, which is, you know, challenging, they can't handle it and they get upset because they can't review it. They can't do their precious little review because they can't get past the second boss or some shit like that. It basically separated, you know, the people that really care about video games from people that just like casually play video games. And there's nothing wrong with casually playing video games, but you shouldn't just expect that every single video game is going to be for you. And it was actually interesting to see how the community rallied behind the idea of them not changing the difficulty, because quite simply, not every game needs to be for everyone. And, you know, diluting a game down to being for everyone a lot of times just makes it so that games lose their charm. Like, if you just make this game easy, it loses its interest. And I saw a lot of people using cheat engine and making mobs get one-shotted and all that stuff. And I was very disappointed with some people doing that. But it is what it is. Ultimately, this is a fantastic title. And anyone who tells you otherwise is like, you know, whatever. Maybe they don't like it. Maybe it's not for them. But for me, hands down, amazing friggin' game. Let's move things along to number 4, I believe. I mean, come on. I told you, my boy Miyazaki gonna be prominently featured in this top 5. Of course, Bloodborne, an amazing title. And here's a testament to how good this game is that I actually don't like the setting. I'm not a fan of Victorian themes. It's just not really in my nature. I'm just not a big fan of it. So I wasn't even a fan of the setting of the game, and I still loved the game this much. Now, this game comes in higher than Sekiro, specifically because of the fact that it allows me to do builds. And you guys know that I'm a sucker for doing different builds, experimenting different playstyles, and all of that. And I just kind of felt like I got more replayability out of this than I got out of Sekiro, which is not it's not a poke at Sekiro. It's just Sekiro is going for a different thing, but these are things that I personally value more. Naturally, this one also has multiplayer, and I played a lot with my friends. I played with Pally Time. I don't remember if I played it with Hengist or not. I think I tried playing with Hengist, but I played with this game with a lot of my friends. Had a lot of fun. Loved the Old Hunters DLC. Some of you who were following me back in the TGN days, you might remember the 6 hours that I spent at Orphan of Cause, and I didn't get it. 6 hours. Because I had an arcane build, and I couldn't kill him with arcane damage. It was so hilarious, dude. But, yeah. This is a fantastic title. Very much a no-brainer for the top of the decade. And it's just like Miyazaki has just been a major... he just hits all the games that I happen to like. That's just the way that it's been with Miyazaki. Now, the next game here, I think a lot of you are not going to expect, particularly at the position that it is going to be. I think a lot of you are not going to expect this game, but I really, really like it. And I think I actually liked it more than Bloodborne even. And I think a lot of people are going to be mad when I show you the next title, but it is what it is. You're either going to like it or you're not going to like it, but I loved it. Oh shit, they revealed it right at the title. I was hoping to get some gameplay before. God, this game is so good though. This game is so goddamn good. One of the most underrated games of all friggin' times. Okay? One of the most underrated games of all times. It's so good. The only thing missing from this game is co-op. Like if this game had 4-player co-op, it'd be so perfect. It's like one of the things that always reminds me about this game is like if Shadow of the Colossus I wouldn't say invented, but they kind of like, I'm not sure if they were the ones who invented, they might have invented the whole thing of climbing on monsters. This was the game that kind of like really built on top of mechanics such as those. Like climbing onto monsters, hitting their heads, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. It's amazing. The combat system of this game is beyond this world. Not to mention, it has the most meaningful spells I think I've ever seen in a fantasy game. Like, you go to any fantasy game and someone would be like, oh, I'm going to do this really powerful spell. It's like, forget about it, dude. You come to this game, and when someone summons up a meteor shower, it's a legit meteor shower. Like, you actually see meteors coming down from the sky, raining down on your enemies, massive explosions. Like, when you get spells in this game, they're real spells. They're no joke. Okay, and a lot of games like, oh, let me shoot a little fireball. In this game, when a fucking comet rains down on you, it's a goddamn comet rain for real. It is amazing. And by the way, this right here, does it remind you of anybody? Good old Grigori looks just like Safi Jiva. Oh, man. Not to mention that in the middle of all this, a lot of people probably that play this game won't even understand the story all that well. But the story is a massive mindfuck, and it is an amazing story. It is an amazing story. The story of the Dark Arisen is also really good. So this game just has it all except the multiplayer. It is the one thing that I would like to have in this game that doesn't have is multiplayer. But it does have so much potential for different builds, multi-classing, and all of these different things that you can do in this game. It is insane. If you just start considering the amount of different play styles that you can have in this game, like your brain explodes. Okay, it's got so many different builds that you can do, so many different classes, so many you know, and then you can customize things further by having your party of four members, and you can send your pawn out to do missions, and it's amazing. It's an amazing title. But
If only
yeah.
I could be so grossly incandescent.
Pneumothorax, thank you very much for converting to Twitch Prime to a tier 1 sub. Tip of the hat to you, sir. Appreciate the support. But yeah, guys, this is number 3. So let's go on to number 2, which is going to surprise absolutely no one. Nobody will be surprised by this next one. I mean, come on. I mean, come on, guys. Who do you think was going to be up here? Who do you think was going to be up here? There it is. My boy Miyazaki.
I remember the first time I died.
My boy Miyazaki. Dark Souls is an amazing game, and out of all of the Souls games that I've ever played, including Demon Souls, it is still my favorite Souls game. You know, even more so than Bloodborne, more so than Sekiro, more so than Dark Souls 3 or 2, which didn't even make it onto the list. Dark Souls 3 and Dark Souls 2, it's like they were great games, but this game right here created a new genre, and it made it so that in a time where developers were taking no chances, games were pretty much auto-playing themselves, not even exaggerating. Like, the only requirement to beat games before Dark Souls came out, most games, like 90% of games in the video game industry, the only requirement to beat them was like, hey, can you press a button? Like, can you press the X button? Okay, you win. You fucking win. Congratulations. That was what gaming was at this time. Like, when I got into Dark Souls, the only thing that ever came close to it was World of Warcraft, essentially, in terms of challenge for me. Was the only thing that came close to Dark Souls. And therefore, it was very easy for me to, like, get hooked into it. It was amazing. I know why it's close to your heart, Pavan. But, yeah. I know that a lot of you guys are disappointed. I know that at least some of you guys are disappointed because of the game that's going to come next, because you all know what game it is by now. But it is what it is, boys. Dark Souls was my favorite game of all time until this game come along.
It's having an incredible effect on other life in the new world.
Wait. That is no island.
Hunters, fight hard and stay smart.
I can't leave yet. Not when there's work to be done.
This is the PC trailer, by the way. You guys are getting Iceborne on the 9th of January. So yeah, Monster Hunter World was when Monster Hunter finally released simultaneously in Japan and in the West. This was the first Monster Hunter game that had a simultaneous release, and not only that, it was a massive leap forward in terms of everything, in terms of visuals, in terms of mechanics, in terms of just like even the game design itself, because you no longer had the segregated areas. You actually had full areas. In terms of turf wars, it's just like the biggest evolutional leap we had ever seen in the Monster Hunter franchise since the release of the original game, as far as I'm concerned. Because, like, you know, the other games, they had improvements, sure. They changed the controls around from Monster Hunter 1 to, I'm not sure if it was from Monster Hunter 1 to Monster Hunter 2 or it was in Freedom Unite or whatever. And then they added new weapons and all this stuff. In 4, they added the mounting mechanic and all of that. But nothing was even close to being as big of a leap as Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter World was the biggest leap that they ever done. And with the release of Iceborne, it's got so many monsters, and it is easily my favorite game of all times. Now, I need people to understand something here, which is when it comes to this game, there's a very specific reason why I like it, and that is the build potential. That's like the main thing that keeps bringing me back. I mean, naturally, there's the gameplay, which is always satisfying. The combat is friggin' amazing. The monster design is brutal. The story is not the best thing. That's not the reason why most people come to Monster Hunter. The story is okay, but it's not like the best thing in this game. Like most of the other titles on this list probably had a better story than Monster Hunter. But ultimately, it is still an experience in the way that, for me, the diversity of playstyles that you can do, and without having to replay the game. Because, like, for instance, whenever I wanted to try a new playstyle in Dark Souls, that basically meant playing through the whole game again from start. Like, okay, now we're doing a strength build. Now we're doing a dexterity build. And I would have to play the entirety of the game from the beginning. I remember even optimizing my runs to the point where, like, I'm going to pick this weapon and then pick that weapon and then pick this other weapon to eventually get to this fourth weapon that I actually want. So I'd have, like, all of my route planned out. I'm going to kill this boss and that boss. And it's like, it's cool, but it leads to burnout a lot faster than in Monster Hunter, where it's like, hey, I want to try out a different playstyle. Okay, I guess I'll just craft a new piece of armor, and I'll craft a new weapon. Boom, Bob's your uncle. That's as easy as it gets to make a new build in Monster Hunter. And I think it shows, because, like, you go to my YouTube channel, and, like, you know, a majority of videos that have come out since, like, when did this came out? 2017? I think it was 2017. Majority of my videos are basically like build videos, because I just enjoy doing builds that much. Like, hey, try out this build, the rubber boots to deal with Kieran. Try out this thing to deal with... And that's what keeps me coming back. It always keeps me coming back, trying out new builds, doing new things. And the support that they have done for this game is amazing. And I just hope that they never go back to releasing the game first in Japan and then a year later in the West, because that would just, like, kill me inside. That would just kill me inside, pretty much. But, yeah, those are my top 10 games of the decade. Pretty much. I mean, I say top 10 again. It was 11 games. So, yeah, that's my list. I know that a lot of people have a lot of thoughts about this, different opinions and all that stuff.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. My dude Ruri Shields up.
The God Emperor, thank you very much for being grossly incandescent for 22 months. Tip of the hat to you, sir. Appreciate support. But yeah, I know that a lot of people have different thoughts on how they would have chosen it and how different things should have played out in a list like this. That's why I think it's a fun thing to do, but at the end of the day, it's meaningless. Like, if I see somebody else's list, like, I'll be curious. If I want to know anything about that person, I'll be curious to see what they have picked. But at the end of the day, it won't matter a bit to me whether or not they pick this game over that game. At least not in any real sense. You shouldn't let anyone else's choices invalidate your own choices. But anyway, I'd also like to take this chance to wish everybody a happy holidays, happy New Year. Enjoy the festivities, spend some time with your family, all of that stuff. Because I think that after today's stream, I'm probably going to be taking the stream and uploading this video and all that. Probably going to be taking a bit of a break until the end of the year and maybe a portion of January, because I've just been going at this way too hard. It's been completely crazy. I've been creating content, one might almost say, in an unhealthy manner. Because this is kind of like what I focus, all of my effort, everything goes into streaming, making videos, and even when I'm not doing it, it's always in the back of my head. I'm always checking on my phone, looking on the YouTube studio, seeing how the last video that I uploaded has performed, and it's getting to some fucking OCD levels, and it's put me in a mental place that is not a good place. And usually people say that like, oh, I wasn't in a good place after they make a mistake. And it's like, I haven't made anything that I would consider a big mistake so far, unless you guys want to count Anthem and Fallout 76. I mean, those were mistakes, but you know, it is what it is. But it is getting to that point where I'm starting to go a little bit crazy. But yeah, I still wanted to make sure that I keep that in the video. Now, for people watching this on YouTube later, at this point, thank you all very much for watching. Like, subscribe, the usual YouTube things. Stay strong, and may your shields never break.